Hey, and welcome to another tale of the Mendicant Preachers. This one is about someone whose name I'm going to try to say well. It is Francix Savier Van Thuan. This is a Vietnamese name. My apologies for if I say it wrong. Francix Savier was a Vietnamese bishop, and he was incarcerated for 13 years in Vietnam. And in 1975, he was traveling to Saigon, Vietnam, to become the new bishop, coadjutor bishop. And on the way, he was arrested and imprisoned, and it lasted for 13 years. And so, even in prison, he wrote letters and notes to the Vietnamese people to give them hope and strength, going forward. And I wanted to just read a little bit from the chapter here on God's will, because he had this gift of simplifying. How do we practice our faith, our spirituality, God's will? And this is how he spoke of it. God's will, he says, is the passport to heaven. So God's will is the passport to heaven. How do we know what God's will is in our lives? This is what so many people ask me. We all ask ourselves that question, right? Your responsibilities indicate the will of God for you at the present moment. How simple is that? How easy does he make that for us? And again, so if God's will is the passport to heaven, and our responsibilities indicate the will of God for each of us at the present moment, he's so simplified. How do we practice devotion in a way that is intrinsically sincere? There are some people who will not carry their own cross or anyone else's, yet they still imagine that their cross is too heavy. Some are eager to take everyone else's cross upon their shoulders, but they refuse to carry their own. Make your responsibilities holy and help others to holiness through them. Grow in holiness by the way you carry out your mission in life. If everyone were faithful to their responsibilities in life, their growth in personal holiness would renew their own hearts and would bring about a like renewal in families and in the whole world. What I love about this priest, bishop, is how simple he's able to make some of the bigger questions that we make so big in our own minds. Despite superficial appearances, a person who neglects his or her responsibilities in life is a false saint. Even if he or she worked miracles, these would be out of place and become a cause of confusion. Moreover, such a person would be a burden to live with. Some people mistakenly believe that holiness consists simply in methods of prayer, preaching, or in withdrawal from the world, taken from the examples of priests and religious of former times. On the other hand, there are those who conceive holiness only in terms of social and political activity. But what is needed is both prayer and action. Because people often conceive of holiness as something outside of their ordinary responsibilities, the world is not renewed. The worker will become a saint in the workplace. The soldier will become a saint in the army. The patient will become a saint in the hospital. The student will become a saint through his studies. The farmer will become a saint on the farm. The priest will become a saint through his ministry as a priest. And the public servant will become a saint in the government office. Every step on the road to holiness is a step of sacrifice in the performance of one's mission in life. Hello, Adriana. Thank you for joining me. It is not for acts of prophecy, or the performance of miracles that saints become saints. They do not do anything extraordinary. They simply carry out their ordinary activities. How often do we miss this simple truth? And does that take a burden off your back? It takes one off of mine. However, the mission of the present moment is not a passive thing. It is an unceasing renewal of yourself. It is a decision to choose the Lord. It is a search for the kingdom of God and a belief in the infinite love of God. It is acting with all the ardor of your heart and of reflecting that love of God by means of your love for others right at this present moment. God's will is your passport to heaven. The one who does the will of my Father in heaven will enter the kingdom of heaven. Matthew 7:21. Accept the will of God, obey the will of God, love the will of God. Which way will you choose? If you happen to endure some disgrace because of your mission in life, at that moment you share the burden of the Lord's cross. Let your response be, "O Lord, my mission has brought me to Calvary. I am a Holocaust." To become a saint, it is only necessary for you to fulfill your present responsibility. The discovery and revelation of this fact will bring peace and encouragement to your soul. Beautiful, huh? All right. See you in a minute.